This is the Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast.
The following contest is scheduled for one fall.
Let's go nuts! It's Jimmy Nuts! Drive out with a car!
With your hosts, Mark Martinez.
Remember, just because you're trash doesn't mean you can't do great things.
And the English Professor.
It's called a garbage can, not a garbage cannot.
Hey, this is former WWE superstar Duke, the Dumpster Drosy, and you are listening to the Can Crushers Podcast.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Can Crushers Podcast. I am your host, Mark Martinez. Alongside of me this week is the co-host, the guru, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Chad Perena.
You were doing good until you said, I just don't know. You could have kept going.
I know.
We got a couple hours. You could have kept going.
Stroke that ego. Stroke that ego. So this is kind of a different episode for us. We're going to touch on what went on. Briefly touch on what went on this week in professional wrestling. And we dive into Starrcade 85, The Gathering. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's a great show.
Yeah. One of the best pay-per-views, I'd say, ever.
Yeah. But let's start off what is hot right now, Chad. What is hot right now?
Alexa Bliss?
Have you watched Tiger King yet?
No.
Are you going? Why?
I have heard so much, and now you're telling me the train wreck that it is. It's just something that you got to watch because it's a train wreck.
Joe Exotic. Guys, if you have not watched Tiger King yet, you have to get it. Subscribe to Netflix just for this, for the love of God. I've been off work for a week due to my injury. I do go back tomorrow to see how that all pans out. So I watched it by myself. The kid wasn't home. The wife wasn't. It's me and the dog watched it one day. He slept through a lot of it. And I've been engulfed with the Tiger King. Yesterday, my wife was like, what the Christ is this Tiger thing going on? Because she's not into it as much as I am. So I rewatched it yesterday with her. I'm getting anybody and everybody to watch this. It's all over my personal Facebook. Why I like it so much, Chad, is he's linked to NWA Texcoma back in the day.
Right.
He puts on shows at a zoo, and I don't want to give it away. If you guys have not watched it, please. Lions and monkeys and death and dismemberment and
divorce and
death.
Drugs.
It's just
lots of drugs from what I've heard.
It's unbelievable. If it is a quarantine time in your household, and we'll touch on that now, this is something that'll pass about 8 hours, and it goes by fast.
It's kind of like a kidney stone.
It is not like a kidney stone. Kidney stones also suck. So, again, I should have led with this. This is a rough time right now. It still has not, at time of recording, been documented that it hit our county in L County, Pennsylvania. But it's climbing closer, Chad. This coronavirus is... I'll say it now. To me, I'm almost, worried, yes, but I'm almost scared. I really am. And if it's because of the media, you guys want to say whatever. Dudes and dudettes, the numbers are out there. People are dying in masses.
Yeah, this is, I'll say, I don't want to say I underestimated it. I thought it was a lot being blown up a lot more. But it is becoming a very serious thing. I personally think we're going to see, because of the testing becoming available and stuff like that, we're going to see a surge in cases.
Especially in our area where we have none yet.
Yeah, we're going to see nationwide, I think, a surge in cases over the next week to 2 weeks. And then I think it's going to start to peter down after that. I see now that the president, regardless of what you think of him, there's going to be severe travel restrictions put on certain states that have the god-awful amount of cases. New York comes
Florida.
to mind right off the bat because New York has the most cases. And again, it goes to international airport, the traveling, everybody trying to get out of those countries and back to the U.S. That's how we're getting it. Either way, people, if you're not in the age groups where this can, affect or do the most damage, so to speak, the 20-something, 30-something age group, you can still carry it.
Right.
You can still get it. You can still pass it on. You can pass it on to, even Mark's son, 13.
Yep.
13. My little boy's 5 are going to be turning 6. Or you can pass it on
Grandma
to
and Grandpa.
Yeah. Stay in. Don't be stupid. It's driving me nuts being in the house a lot. I get out. I'll take the pups out for a walk in the woods, stuff like that. I'd like to get out more. I'd like to be doing more. But at the same token, the longer we screw around,
The longer it lasts.
the longer it's going to take. And so help me, if my Ring of Honor thing in June gets canceled, like the Crockett Cup did, I'm going to have somebody strung up by the balls
Hey now. Hey, watch
in the
those.
basement.
Watch those.
Well, I'm sorry, man. Sorry, bad comment. I'm going to have somebody strung up by their fingernails. No, but seriously, people, stay in. Check on your, neighbors, your elderly neighbors, stuff like that. Just stay in. Find things to do.
Guys, this is the time, I think, and I'm going to revert it here. And if we get people turning off, because I'm going to say this right now, I'm Catholic. So this is kind of like the new life for us is coming out. Easter's right around the corner. Not going to dive into details. You guys know the religion and everything. But I'm taking this as much needed family time. Yeah, I would have been off work anyway with my situation. But you know what's cool? Like, we legit sat down and we played Trivial Pursuit on the Switch. We spent the money to try to figure out Animal Crossing, because I have no idea still what's going on in Animal Crossing. Baseball, for me, the wife's watching stuff. It is just that we're spending time and we're comfortable. I'm not running here. I would like to be running the wrestling shows, but we're not. But it's taking family time and showing that during the hustle and bustle of life, I think we need some more of this. Let's step back and say, all right, in my family, we do the podcast on Sundays and nothing else after church. That is it. We take Sunday, and it's not that we don't want anybody else coming over. We take and make it a triple threat day between my wife, my son, and myself. Throw the dog in as a referee, and we just relax, get into something together. That's what we need in this world more. We really do.
I hate to use the word is being thrown around so much. Essential employees. No, you got to see what's essential to your life right now, your family. What's the most important? I'll be totally honest, is my 5-year-old driving me up the wall sometimes?
Hell yeah.
Oh, yes.
My 36-year-old is. It's my wife.
I'm not going to comment on that one because mine listens to this. This is what's really important, family, close friends. Would I like to be out doing more? Oh, yeah. But at the same token, a little bit of sacrifice now. What's an old saying that our parents, ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. I'm going to tell you, people, if you haven't seen what the test is for this
is unbelievable.
You don't want to go through this. They take a swab. It goes in your nose and all the way back to your sinuses. Through whatever. Look this up. It goes 3/4 of the way back your skull. Speaking of somebody who had to be on a monitor years ago, a soft tube through my nose and down through my throat for an injury in that, this is worse than that. And I'm going to tell you, that sucked. When they put that tube in me, it took 4 people to hold me down. It was that bad. And it wasn't that I was thrashing, fighting them or anything. It's that uncomfortable. Now imagine something sturdy like a swab or the metal hook like they're using. Come on, guys. It's just stay in. And, you know, Mark mentioned something. I'm not a holy roller, so to speak, however you want to put it.
Practicing Catholic. Or practicing religion, yeah.
I believe in God. I go to church, probably not as often as I should have, or I should. But somebody, a dear friend of ours, posted this earlier, and when Mark brought this up, this straight out of the Bible. Whenever I hold back the rain, or send locusts to eat up the crops, or send an epidemic on my people, if they pray to me and repent, turn away from the evil they've been doing, then I will hear them in heaven, forgive their sins, and make their land prosperous again. This is where you need to turn to the good man above. This is one of the times where he needs to hear your prayers. If you're not a religious person, that's fine. But for those of us who believe in a higher power in that, there's a reason this stuff was written.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to. I can't follow that. That was sprung on me. I didn't even know you were going to do that. Thank you. That's awesome. If you want to know about the test Chad was talking about, head to Kyle Davis. Everybody's like, who the hell is Kyle Davis? He's part of the broadcasting team for NWA. He has taken the test. He is now self-quarantining because he has some symptoms. Go to his Facebook page. He talks about it. And he pretty much says it's the worst pain in his life that he's ever gone through. So
I've had, I can't think of the thing that they do for kidney stones.
They smash them? You mean
no?
like that?
The tube that they put up your
hoo-ha.
To
side suction.
I can't.
Catheter.
No,
that's what they put up there.
It's not a catheter. It's not for peeing out of. It's to open things up.
The camera that like shocks them and rips them out and stuff.
Yeah. It's the pain is worse than that.
Yeah. Guys, literally, if you can, stay the hell home. Wash your hands. I know we sound like the CDC right now, but this is something that we all need to really take into effect, because if my buddy Nick Galbo's couple-month baby gets sick because you had to go visit, I'm going to punch you in the face. Or if grandma gets sick and ends up in ICU, there's going to be an issue. We're in our 40s, and we are the ones that, yes, we can get it, but we're the ones that are most likely to be the carriers. Stay the hell home. Enjoy your family. Watch wrestling. Listen to other podcasts. Guys, there's tons of shit out there. There really is. Just enjoy life right now.
Yeah, everything I'm finding, and yeah, I'm behind the times. Podcast-wise, everything that you could want to listen to, you can find stuff on. I like hunting and stuff like that. I found a couple that I've enjoyed listening to. One thing, medical advice, I'm going to throw out there. It's coming out about this. Good time to mention it. Do not use ibuprofen.
No.
It is coming up that is basically, it's building up in the people's systems, and it's taking it from, sniffles and runny nose and some chest discomfort to the very far end of, holy hell, there's an elephant on my chest beating on my head with a sledgehammer type deal.
Yeah, they're saying that's a multiplier of it.
Yeah, don't take ibuprofen. Tylenol, fine.
Yeah.
Acetaminophen, you're good. But stay away from the ibuprofen.
All right, so guys, really, we'll get off our boxes and head to wrestling right now, but really take care of yourselves. We might not know all of Can Crusher Nation, but what you guys have done for us and where you guys have taken us because you listened to this train wreck, we love you. We really do. And
if you don't think it can reach it's not going to happen to you or anything like that, go on to wrestling pages, whichever ones. See the wrestlers that are being self-quarantined now and have been diagnosed with it. See the wrestlers that are dropping out of WrestleMania.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. But see the wrestlers that are dropping out. And I'm not just talking the big guy.
No.
I'm talking that are being diagnosed, that are, being pulled out, everything like that. It can happen to anybody.
The healthiest
You
people.
don't know. You can say, yeah, I haven't been out of the country in 2 weeks. I haven't had these symptoms. You can carry this for up to 14 days without showing any symptoms.
So, all right, let's talk about the wrestlers. That's actually one of the things I want to do. Everybody is not becoming irrelevant, but, we're a month now into this, and there's not been wrestling. The last thing around here was the IWC show that 18 that, we didn't go because it was a touchy subject then. But now wrestlers are just all over Facebook, all over Instagram, Twitter, coming on and having chats with people just to pretty much repeat what we said, but to say, hey, we love you, thank you for supporting us, from buying shirts, this, that, or the other. I think this is great by the wrestlers. You've seen baseball players and football players paying stadiums for food and everything. I haven't, and I follow everybody and their brother, I haven't seen a baseball player come out yet on social media and have a one-on-one like I did last night. Chris Jericho had a freaking sing-along, Q&A and sing-along. It was great. I watched a lot of it. Also last night, Ray Lynn of IWC and Calvin Couture of IWC had a little Q&A. I love what wrestlers are doing right now, reaching out to their fans. This means more. I'm turning into my mother saying, look, they truly are saying they care about you.
Yeah. What you got to realize is a lot of these wrestlers, the vast majority, I'd probably say 95%, they've lost both of their jobs. They don't do the wrestling just as their primary one, their primary income. And then their day jobs are gone also.
Well, I'll bring up
whether they're teachers, like
Tim
Darren
Storm.
De Niro,
Tim Storm. Ray Lynn is, come on guys, Ray Lynn's a great friend of the show. She's a beautician. The Dime Piece, she's a beautician. They're not working right now.
Yeah, and it's just remember that, you may not think a $20 t-shirt or something like that would mean a lot or would go far, but it does.
That's a meal for them.
Yeah.
And I hate that, bring it down that far, but that's a meal for them.
Yeah, I mean, that's how they make their things. If they didn't need, when I say need the money in the first place, they wouldn't have the merchandise.
Right.
And the merchandise, it helps them. It adds to what they earn from wrestling, and then it adds, to their other thing. But y'all got to remember, there isn't jack going on wrestling-wise across the U.S., period.
No.
Even these idiots that do this death match crap outlaw mud show, copyright,
Reference.
stuff, they're not even doing that. And that's saying a lot.
Yeah, it really is.
Don't know what's gonna go on. We're hoping. I joked about it earlier. We're hoping to make the Ring of Honor show in Baltimore with Pat in the middle of June. We don't know.
We don't know yet.
Yeah, we don't know. Ring of Honor's canceled everything
Up
through the
until
end
then.
of May. Yeah,
Up until then.
Yeah, it's like we don't know what the hell's going on. You don't know what's going on, but help the wrestlers out. Go see what they have. Give them feedback. Camille is always on
Instagram.
And Twitter. It's worth it just to go and look at her photos. But, she's talking. She's answering a lot to fans. A lot of them are. Even, oh my God, MJF is making a presence on Twitter and interacting with his fans more.
He is. He really is.
so-
Not in a good way.
Not necessarily. He's MJF, but they're out there, guys. Come
Right.
on, just, help them out. Where they give us, they spend their lifetime learning their trade to give us hours of entertainment. we can help them out and do something for them.
We can toss them a bone as well. All right, let's cover AEW before we get John on the line here real quick, and then we'll at the back end we'll cover what WWE is doing and everything. Not a great show by AEW.
No.
I understand. I'm not saying because there's not fans. I'm throwing the fans thing out the window anymore. I don't know what the hell they were actually doing this week. I really don't.
No, it was, we expected a lot more.
We did.
Versus the previous week. I kind of thought they were in trouble this week when they had Cody going against Jimmy Havoc in their opening match, and I am not a Jimmy Havoc fan at all. To me, he's one of these trash wrestlers, mud show wrestlers, copyright. I thought they were in trouble from there. There was some good spots in this. There was some pretty damn funny stuff in this.
What I didn't like, one of our favorite things last week is they took that away from us this week. I don't know if portions of this were taped. Let's just say that right off the top. Portions of this were taped, and why did they put the people in a trailer in the back? Why can't they be separated out? Out.
I think there was something. I read something somewhere, and sorry I don't remember the source because I read a lot of this stuff before I go to bed at night. That there was issues with having that many people
in the arena,
at ringside and in the arena, and they were trying to capture any bit of what they had the week before, having people still showing people, and it just lost it. It wasn't the same with MJF in the betting and stuff. That was hilarious as hell.
Right.
The last week and everything. But there was restrictions put on that. They got away with it one week, couldn't really
do it the following. All right, let's bring up... I really don't want to talk about every match. Sammy G against Omega for the AAA title was pretty damn good. Because I love Sammy. Man crush. Leave it at that.
I'm warming up on him.
You love him.
I'd still like to smack him in the mouth every time he sticks his tongue out, but,
And the Cody match, whatever, they led with that. Jake does a great message to Cody after the match. But, guys, go on and watch it. Get to the point that we're getting at. Chris Jericho and a drone. Go ahead.
If you can cut the promo that he did on a damn piece of machinery, it was funny as hell. And it was a good promo. It wasn't stupid. It was funny. I liked it. I thought it was funny.
I know Sammy G had just got beaten by Omega, but I really, the cameraman singing Judas tonight didn't do it for me. You need Sammy G out there. Thank God Jericho, again, as I said last night, had the sing-along of Judas on his Facebook page. How about Matt Hardy? He's can teleport now.
Yeah. I think he got with that, I think Ole Anderson and that magician from the Black Scorpion days.
Oh my God!
I think they got them in on this. This was some Star Trek shit that Okay, it sucked. I'm sorry, I can't even.
That was rough.
It sucked. It was bad. Their editing to put this together was bad. Let's just end it on a good note. The drone promo.
All right, guys, we're going to get into the meat of our show right now. This lasted longer than I thought from the beginning, but let's get into the meat of our show as we talk about Starrcade 85, The Gathering. We'll make the phone call, but first we have to talk about our boy, Al Snow. Guess what I have coming, Chad? Just saying. I have a Blue World Order collar and elbow shirt coming.
Nice t-shirt?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. It could have been a hoodie or something.
No. That was just released. Blue World Order. The BWO is upside. You'll see it in a couple weeks or whenever I get it. Guys, this new line is awesome. It really is. There's a Mid-South wrestling guy holding a championship title up. And we have a discount code. What is it?
Can Crushers. Capital C's.
There you go. Guys, 10% off. Here's Al, and then we'll call the English professor. Starrcade 85, The Gathering. I cannot wait to talk about this.
Wrestling a love and a passion we all share. I've started a wrestling brand, the wrestling brand. A brand founded on the aspects of wrestling. Two entities working together to create a product that connect emotionally for people everywhere. Collar and Elbow is the brand. Passion and love for wrestling is the drive. I am Al Snow, and this is Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand.
Hey, all you stupid Regents math breeders out there. This is Amanda. I'm Elijah Dean, and you are listening to Can Crushers Podcast.
And welcome back, guys. We've been excited to, well, I guess I should welcome back somebody that hasn't been on the show yet this week. That's the way my head is going with all this Tiger King stuff, Chad. It's blown my mind. Welcome to the show, the English Professor. Sorry I didn't give you a grand introduction like normal.
It was good enough. It's all right. It was fine.
My mind's elsewhere. It really is.
Everybody's is. I understand.
I saw a tiger.
Oh, Lord.
All right, guys, we were excited to announce this last week, and we were going to break down Starrcade 85, The Gathering, and I sat down and I watched this, and there's so much I want to talk about. Let's start with Chad. He brought this one to the table. Okay, we're not going to get to the matches yet, but why did you pick this one?
I just thought that it had, even for the lower card matches and that, there was some really good matches in this. The first one I think of without getting into the match was Manny Fernandez and Abdullah the Butcher. There's a strap match. I mean, the best match on the card to me, Magnum TA and Tully Blanchard in the famous I Quit match. This was just, it had its kind of, I don't want to say crappy matches, filler matches, but even the filler matches were good matches.
Yeah, John?
I'm going to agree with everything Chad said. I do have a couple of gripes, and again, without getting into the matches. So it was from two venues, which maybe that's where the WWF got their idea for WrestleMania 2 3-4 months later. But I wasn't really sure when they were where they said they were, because commentary was just, I got to be honest, it was terrible. There'd be a match where nobody would say anything for 5 minutes, and then you hear Tony Schiavone say, "What a dropkick, Bob!" And then Bob never answers him. I didn't know what was going on a lot of times with the commentary. Johnny Weaver should not have had a stick in his hands. And the other thing is, man, there are a lot of belts. And Chad can speak to this probably better than I can. Vince wasn't the only guy gobbling up territories. If we're being fair here, so was Crockett. I don't know whether he was gobbling up Florida and Georgia or just working with them, but he brought all their belts in. So you've got Florida's version of the United States Tag Team Championship. You got the National Tag Team Championship, which I think came from Georgia. You've got the National Heavyweight title, the U.S. Heavyweight title, the Mid-Atlantic title. By my count, and they weren't all on the show because there was no TV title, Dusty was stripped, and the Russians didn't defend their six-man tag team championship. But on a roster of about 30 guys, half of them were champions in some capacity.
Well, the
Koloffs, a little crazy.
The Koloffs going into this were two-time champions, two current holding champions, right? Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right. They were world tag team champions, and I think the three of them were six-man tag team champions.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we'll get to it, but Khrushchev was in the opening, well, what we saw as the opening match for the Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Championship.
So my thoughts real quick is I'm going to differ from you. And I'm going back that WrestleMania had not happened yet. This is a cool, innovative thing that they're doing a pay-per-view with my air quotes from two different areas. You know, I went back to 1985 saying, holy hell, they're running a show from two places, and pumping the other matches, I would think somehow, into the other arena to watch. So I was like, innovative back in the day. It was Atlanta and Greensboro. One of the first things I saw that I think us three would go nuts if we had those. Front row seats were 15 feet away from the barriers. If we had Ethan, Sylvan, or Vinny with us, shit was not going to go down because they're on top of those barriers all the time. And I would have been the same way. I don't know how they did it back then. There was such a gap in between that you could have probably had 3 more rows of seat. And I know, in the grand scheme of things, what is that? Maybe 150 seats? It's more money, though, right?
Yeah.
And they were,
that's a good point.
They were legit barriers, still. They weren't any foam matted, carpeting bump pads. They were straight up barriers.
They're kind of like
things
IWCs.
were hot back in the day.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chad, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just saying the barriers were kind of like what IWC has or whatever. Like I say, they're like almost the bike rack barriers and that, but the wrestlers were always getting thrown into them and bending them. They weren't very, can I put it? They weren't very sturdy.
No. And they used them a lot.
Yeah.
But they just had that. There was more safety back then for fans than there are now. Like right now, you ate a barrier one time. You legit ate a barrier one time. And back then, people came and they sat in their seats, but they were red hot. I want to talk about the fans real quick. From start to finish, that's all you heard were the fans going nuts, ballistic. For even, as Chad says, the lower card matches, this was red hot.
All the way through. And the booking was solid because even the opening matches, the lower card matches, you had not necessarily a hometown favorite, but a home country favorite. Guys from the southern part of the United States. There were a lot of guys from Texas wrestling that night. They were wrestling guys from Russia, guys from the Sudan, that sort of thing. So fans were red hot, and maybe that's why they had to make sure that there was a lot of room between the ring and the fans, because especially in those days, 85 might have been the point where fans calmed down just a little bit, but I bet they were still jumping barriers.
Yeah, two things that I really took out of it was, again, and this is something that I've started saying the last couple of weeks with the fans. Did you notice how they had the ring lit and everything?
Next point.
The first couple of rows could you vividly see of people. The focus was on the talent.
Yeah.
The focus was on the ring. And that lends so much more to the show than, seeing Joe Smith in the nosebleed section at the top of the damn arena.
Or Megan Nelson putting lipstick on in the front row of IWC.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say Johnny Patch for a minute. But
no.
Elijah Dean.
Just something like that. All right. So, let's get to the card. As both of you said off air, and I was like, oh, yeah, there was an opening match that was not, because we all watched it on the WWE Network, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Nobody has a VHS or beta of this, do they?
No.
Okay.
No. Unfortunately, no.
That's sad. If you've had a beta of this, I bet you it's worth 25 cents.
Yeah, at least.
Pistol Pez Watley had a match. I don't even know against who, but he was there. I like when he was Shaska Watley. Just saying. No.
Yeah. Forgot about that.
Yeah. There was another match that wasn't on as well. Maybe it was Pistol Pez Watley against my boy Thunderfoot. I think that's who it was.
Oh.
Do you remember Thunderfoot? He always loaded his boot
by tapping it.
Yeah, and then it got used against him.
Yeah. Then he lost. He kicked himself in the head. Yeah. All right. So the first match on was the Mid-Atlantic Championship match because the title was vacant. It was Crusher Khrushchev against Sam Houston. Let's start with John this time, and then we'll just go to Chad and then me.
I noticed in this match and during the course of the evening, a lot of clothesline ducks. We complain about that now, but 35 years ago, a lot of guys were ducking the clotheslines. Something that stood out to me, though, Houston doing some nice high-flying moves, had a head scissor on Crusher Khrushchev, and Khrushchev just picked him up with him around his neck. So what I'm saying is Crusher got to his feet with a guy, if they're exaggerating his weight, is he every bit of 220 pounds? With a guy wrapped around his neck. Just incredible strength. Unbelievable power from Crusher. This had me really involved to the point where I'm reacting. I am verbally reacting to what's going on based on the strikes, moments in the match, feet on the ropes that the ref didn't see or did see. Really, really good match. Way to kick off the show. That sickle by the Crusher was vicious. It really was.
Yeah, I'll agree with John. It was a really good match. I was always a fan of Sam Houston. He was, a nice guy as far as we knew back then.
Until we met him at WrestleCamp.
Yeah, and he was he was always, I don't want to say the kind of the whipping boy, but he could have a good match. I think he was, underrated, and then after, he hooked up with Baby Doll and pissed everybody off and stuff like that, he kind of lost his momentum, but it was a good match. Khrushchev, Barry Darsow, the dude was awesome. He was so underrated as a wrestler because he always was in a gimmick or a group or something like that, and it was just kind of nice to see him have a good singles match and have it mean something. And again, the crowd behind, oohs and ahs and cheering on Houston. One thing I noticed about this, and I forgot to bring this up before with the fans that made this card, was there was cut and dried heels and faces. There was no in-betweens. And when you have the cut and dried heels and faces, you know what kind of reaction you're going to get every match if it goes off well.
Great match. I thought this was a perfect opener for this card in both venues. The first thing I noticed, though, because you know how I am, the referee was all in yellow. What?
Yeah.
He looked like a bottle of mustard standing in the ring. What the hell? I don't remember that until he comes out all in yellow. I'm like, dude, nobody said anything to him? Like, hey, man, yellow's definitely the good color to be on TV tonight.
And he looked old enough
to know better.
Been like a bootlegger, like during Prohibition.
Oh, my God.
Looked like a freaking parakeet.
So, I echo both that they said, everything they said, and great. I love the false finish in this match. I love it. That Houston gets the win. Khrushchev had his foot on the ropes. Sam's celebrating. Mr. Mustard says, no, you didn't win. And then that sickle at the end just buries him. You had the pop because some fans didn't know the foot was on the rope. And then you had the disappointment right off the bat to lead everybody into a card that probably one of the best cards we're going to talk about in a long time.
And Houston had his foot on the ropes, too. The ref missed that one. Houston tried to get the break with the foot on the ropes, but the referee missed that. Very quickly, Mark, you and I saw Sam Houston in '88, June of '88, in Du Bois against Bret Hart. Just a throwaway match. Great match.
Yeah.
And Houston took the pile driver, and on his way back to the locker room was walking so slowly and holding his neck, started to teeter a little bit sideways, and then boom, walked into the door. I mean, that got a genuine reaction from the crowd. He made us believe that, like, he got his neck snapped or got his brain scrambled. He sold that the whole way back to the dressing room.
Yeah, great worker back in the day.
Yep.
Always around there was a lightweight championship We forgot to mention. We mentioned that Pez Watley was there, the Italian Stallion. Denny Brown also was there, who was their lightweight champion. So that's a title that you missed to bring up as well. Also,
I missed that one. Okay.
Not on the line. I was hoping to see Lasertron, but Lasertron was not on this card. I don't know if Lasertron was invented back then. The game.
Khrushchev. Right. So in the end, what? Khrushchev really smashed Houston and repoed the belt?
Yep, there you go. Great.
Yep.
Great. All week.
All right.
All week you waited to say that, I'm sure.
I did. I have it written down. Yeah, read it word for word.
Repo Man was in the finals of the worst gimmick against IRS in our tournament.
That's right. Yep.
Next match, probably one of my favorites of this card. Not my favorite, but one of, top 3 matches on this card. Abdullah the Butcher against Manny Fernandez in a Mexican death match. Let me just say that if you go back and listen to our Manny Fernandez interview from, probably about a year ago now, he references this match. He talks about this match and working with Abby a lot. So let's start with Chad on this one.
This was, I didn't remember this match, from years ago, but in watching this, oh my God, what a violent match!
There was blood in the first 25 seconds.
Yeah,
I rewound it.
But then I should have thought, okay, Manny Fernandez and Abdullah the Butcher. Abdullah is usually carrying a cutlery set in his freaking pants. I thought this was a really good match for those two because they just beat the piss out of each other.
Till the end. Till the end. The end gets wonky.
Yeah, and was but I mean they legitimately just beat the hell out of each other.
Yeah,
I liked it.
John?
I did too. It's about what I expected out of these guys, a bloodbath. Fernandez does sort of a flying forearm, and I don't know if this was a knock from the WWF to the NWA or not, but they, who was it? Schiavone? No. Caudle, Bob Caudle, and was it Tony Schiavone that joined him? Yeah. They called it the flying burrito.
They did.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesse Ventura and Bobby Heenan used to call Tito Santana's move the flying burrito as a joke. Anyway, I found that interesting. I don't know if that was knocking the competition or not. The fans were way into this. They were showing the crowd. The little old lady was screaming, "Come on." If Abdullah so much as just missed a move or missed a clothesline or a punch, they popped. They were so behind Manny Fernandez in this match. I would have rather seen a different stipulation to a Mexican death match than just pulling a sombrero off a pole. I don't know. Make it a pin. Make it a boot camp match, essentially, where the only way you win is a pinfall or submission. Never been a fan of stuff on a pole.
No? Yeah, you've written some stuff with stuff on a pole before, but...
I have, yeah. It's hokey, though. It's hokey.
So, oh, my God. We had boots. Boots were okay to be hit with. We had a belt. It was okay to be hit with. You could throw each other into anything in the world, and it's okay to be hit with. But when, as Chad calls it, the cutlery system set or whatever comes out, it's a foreign object, and the announcers are going nuts. He's got a foreign object! A foreign object is not allowed in this match because that is illegal. But boots and belts and chairs and lions and tigers and bears, oh my, are all right. But the foreign object is what put the announcers over the limit.
It was biased commentary because they were pulling for Manny. That's why.
One thing I want to add about this, I found in reading a review about this, I didn't know. Abdullah used to, because he didn't trust anybody in the locker room with his money, and that he used to always wear under the back part of his trunks a weight belt that had his money strapped to it. He always took his money down to the ring.
Like a fanny bag or a fanny
well,
pack.
Not flatter, like a girdle. Okay. I guess is a different thing. He used to tape his money on the inside of that, and he'd go down, and he always wrestled with his money taped to him.
Wow.
It was just a weird... Yeah, I was just like... I was like looking, trying to see this in this match, and it's like, damn it, you fat bastard, stand still a second.
So the ending of the match, I said, got wonky. Abdullah fell down kind of on the apron to the outside a little bit, and then all of a sudden Manny just is dead to the world. He's been bleeding now for 12 and a half minutes. Sprints up, grabs the sombrero, and boom, on his way to, I was going to say Taco Bell, but I don't want to be that type of guy.
Oh, that's bad.
On his way out the door instantly. I think there could have been a little more struggle to get the sombrero, but I agree, kind of little weird ending.
Yeah, there could have been a better struggle. Overall, though, I think the match, if you watch closely, it told a good story because Manny had one boot, he had another boot, he had a belt, but little by little, he lost all those weapons, and it just came down to his heart. It came down to what he had inside. Can he beat this guy? So when everything was taken away from him, he still found a way to win.
Next match is, and I think this is where they should have had a breather in between. Because you just had a...
Well, hold on. They did, because they had the interview with Crusher Khrushchev.
All right. Go ahead.
I want to mention that because I know he was a turncoat or whatever, but how are we ever supposed to believe that this guy was Russian when it sounds like Pat Lapino?
Right.
Damn, Houston, I ain't going to take nothing away from him. He fought a good fight,
Well, now, let's get this right now. He wasn't believed to be Russian. He was a Russian. He was a Russian sympathizer, so he naturally wouldn't sound like, Magum T.A., Nikita Koloff stuff.
Right.
So is this where we're getting our Russian? This is where we all have to do some Russian expression of some sort. I wish I had a sound clip of Pat Lapino doing one right now because he would probably kill all of us. All right, on to the next match. Yes, there was the pause with the interview, but I think back to back in-ring action of a Mexican death match followed by now a bull rope match. There should have been a pause there. I just think it was.
I agree.
But this
is where I think NWA Jim Crockett tried too hard back in the day. He tried too hard. Give us a special match. Don't give us all special matches.
Right. No. Black Bart with James J. Dillon against Ron Bass. If Ron Bass wins, he gets 5 minutes in the ring with J.J. Dillon. So what we know now, we would have put 2 and 2 together saying, but we didn't know that back then. We didn't.
Right.
Let's start with John. Go ahead.
So I noticed, again, I wasn't following Mid-Atlantic or Crockett very closely back in the day. I only ever saw highlights of this show. But they were calling Black Bart and Ron Bass the former Long Riders. I guess they were a team at one point.
Right.
That split. I don't know. I've always known the Long Riders to be the Irwin brothers.
Scott and
Hogg and Scott, yeah. I never knew these guys to be the Long Riders. I was a little confused with J.J. Dillon because the Horsemen were a thing at this point. Obviously, we see the Andersons come out and save Ric Flair at the end. I know Dillon was just with Tully Blanchard, not necessarily the manager of the Horsemen, but I would love to be able to piece all this together because I have a lot of questions about this. And then you have like J.J. Dillon's guys calling everybody out, including the Horsemen, like in interviews. I'll take on Flair, I'll take on Blanchard, whatever. So I don't know if guys just didn't dot their I's and cross their T's or if it was all a little loosey-goosey. I'm not sure what was going on there, but I thought JJ was with the Horsemen. Nevertheless, it's about what I expected. Like the match before it, you got Black Bart leading in the first minute. I thought Ron Bass did some really nice stuff with the cowbell, just beating Black Bart's head in. In the end, on its own, it's a good match. But to your point, Mark, look what it followed. It's a little too similar. And for that reason, I wasn't as into it because I just saw something similar.
Chad?
Yeah, I got to totally agree with John on that. Placed differently in the card, this match would have seemed to be better, would have come off better, but you're just, I mean, the blood for Manny and Abdullah's match ain't even dry yet, and you got
Literally,
another
it's not even
version,
dry yet.
another version of it in the ring. So it was just, it was bad placement.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
a good match, but just bad placement on the card.
Bass wins the first match. Go ahead, John.
The only thing I want to say is you look at the territories and they all had one or two of something, a nationality, a heritage, an ethnicity, whatever, a gimmick. We've had 4 guys from Texas in the first 3 matches. So you just had Manny Fernandez, a guy from Texas, bleeding buckets and beating the crap out of his opponent with whatever he can get his hands on. And the next match, you have 2 guys from Texas beating the crap out of each other with whatever they can get their hands on and bleeding buckets. So it's just to the point you guys are making. 2 similar matches back to back. One had to lose, unfortunately.
As I said, Bass wins the first match. He gets 5 minutes with JJ. JJ comes in right off the bat and just starts waylaying Bass. Bass gets it turned around, but then Black Bart comes in and JJ wins the second match by hook or by crook. I like the spin on this because everybody would have thought Bass was going to just pummel JJ. So I like the spin that JJ
Absolutely.
picks it up. So you've had, a bad pop, with the Khrushchev winning. You had Manny winning. You bring it back to get both in this match. So you're on equal level ground again of like, oh man, are all the good guys going to win tonight? Or are all the bad guys going to win tonight? We don't know. But, yeah, an okay match. An okay match overall.
Yep.
Next match is actually twofold. It is the Barbarian against Superstar Billy Graham, first in an arm wrestling competition for $10,000, and then directly after that, they've already stated it, they're going to have a 30-minute match of just fighting. And let's start with Chad.
I don't know what much to say about this.
Worst match of the night.
Yeah, I'd have to go with that at this point. Graham got bloodied in the arm wrestling part of it, and then it was just a beatdown. And I'm sorry, but anytime you get beat down by number 1 Paul Jones and one of his cronies, you're not doing well.
Yeah, because they were the least of the stables back in the day. The least.
By far.
Yeah, T.J. Khan. Right?
So this match was This match should have been on before the strap match. It could have been an easy fix, a come-down match, so to speak.
82, 83, Paul Jones, number 1 Paul Jones stable in Mid-Atlantic, along with the House of Humperdinck. Those are some pretty cool stables. By 85, things were changing, so I agree with you guys there that he wasn't exactly the top stable in the NWA anymore. I liked seeing Superstar Billy Graham. Always been a fan of his. I liked seeing him drop the karate gimmick that he did for a little while in the early 80s in the WWF, back to the tie-dye and, that whole shtick that he did. Tony Schiavone was a little confused at first because the Barbarian's trying to use a left hand, then both hands. And he's like, well, he doesn't know what arm wrestling is. And they've never seen arm wrestling in Samoa.
No. Ask him. You should have asked him.
I guess not.
When we were at the big event a couple years back, you should have brought that up.
Darn it. Yeah. I had an opportunity to, and I missed it. Billy Graham's losing the arm wrestling match the entire time until he comes back. Have we ever seen an arm wrestling match end with an actual winner? Not really. I think he did win. The ref did count Barbarian's hand down, and then Paul Jones jumped in. The match, is all right. Billy Graham, very, very entertaining. well past his prime here. Never the greatest worker, though. And at this point, this is where I said the blood is just too much tonight. Every single match. And I know at this point, I think that's what they were going for, but the blood was just too much. This match, out of the 9 or 10 there were, last place.
So, of course, I'm going to find stupid stuff to talk about, and the first thing I see is this table in the ring that looks like John built it in shop glass. It's unstable. It's not level. Paul Jones is making a mockery of it, and it doesn't look like it could hold both of your kids that weigh 50 pounds combined. There's no possible way that they had any weight on this table. Wasn't there a desk or anything? And I know it was hurry up, get the damn thing out of the ring quickly because the match was made to be like that, but they couldn't sell me on this table at all of being an arm wrestling match table. I agree with everything you guys said. If we're rating it on stars or beers, it's going to get 1. So let's move along.
Yeah.
Next match is the national title match. And it is Terry Taylor against Buddy Landel. John, we'll go with you first.
The national title, which means you're champion of the nation, which is our great nation, the United States of America, which is different than what we'll see later on, the United States Heavyweight Championship.
Right.
Which means you're the champion of this great nation of the United States. Too many belts. Nevertheless, sleeper match of the night. Buddy Landel is so good. I don't think he ever fully realized his potential. J.J. Dillon has told some stories about Buddy Landel's poor choices, unfortunately. Terry Taylor, always been a big Terry Taylor fan. Maybe the 2 best in-ring workers on the night. Just the lockup and the face-to-face at the beginning of the match was intense. The headlock by the Nature Boy looked tight. Taylor was such a good seller. Genuinely looking like he's trying to get out of this headlock. He puts his hips into a pin to try to keep Landel's hips down. Great punches and chops by Buddy Landel. The backdrop, a back body drop by Terry Taylor, done beautifully. Didn't put his head down too soon so he doesn't get kicked in the face or get a sunset flip. Ducked at just the precise moment. Put his hands on the Nature Boy's hips to throw him further up into the air. Great match. Great match by 2 very, very skilled, accomplished workers.
Chad?
Yeah, I gotta agree. 2 of the best workers that there's been. In an era where I want to say the big guys were starting to take over. This was just a very underrated match. I remember Terry Taylor from NWA from the UWF time and some world class time. It was a really good match. And like you said, Buddy Landel, man, if he could have kept his head straight and, kept off the ring rats, the coke, and any other drug that he could get, his career could have really gone.
Yeah,
a lot further than it did. But, that was kind of the normal thing back then.
I have the same thing you guys written down. Great technical match. By far the best technical match of the night. Really the only technical match of the night. But these 2, I just thought of it right now. If you were watching, for kids that don't know who these guys are or haven't checked it out yet, if you would watch Bret Hart against Mr. Perfect, I mean, it was that much of a technical match that,
right.
You would think of these 2 many years before them. But and we have a new national champion as JJ gets his hand in there with the superplex, pulls him off the second rope, and Landel lands on Taylor. Let's talk about the Nature Boy situation right now. We have the Nature Boy Ric Flair. We have Buddy Landel. We have another Nature Boy lingering in the AWA about the same time, right? Buddy Rose. How do you get to be called Nature Boy and nobody stealing the other person's gimmick?
Beats me. The only thing I'll say on that is we were talking about Landel's work in the ring, on the mic, as we see later. I genuinely feel, and I didn't appreciate this guy as much before. I thought I did. After watching him versus Terry Taylor, you could have taken Ric Flair out of the equation and put Buddy Landel in the same position. I think he'd have been every bit as good given that opportunity, and had he kept himself clean in 2020, you'd be seeing Buddy Landel shirts and robes and everything else instead of Ric Flair. I think he was that good. I really do.
Yeah, he was a really good wrestler, and I mean Flair loved working with him. That's well documented. He just, he got to the darker side of the business.
Dark side of the ring?
Darker side of the ring, and he, just kind of, he had a good career, but it could have been, he could have probably, I'd say, be a top 5.
Wow.
Of all time.
Big.
Just because his in-ring work was so good.
It was.
Just a good match between those two. Excellent match.
Next match, you have the National Tag Team Title Champions, Ole and Arn Anderson, the Minnesota Wrecking Crew, and they're taking on Wahoo McDaniel and Billy Jack Haynes, the U.S. champions. This is the perfect opportunity for the NWA to put both United States National Championships together and call it one different title, the Titles of America or something.
Yeah, they couldn't use the American Tag Team title because World Class had that.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that was out of Texas. The American Championships were out of Texas.
Whatever. They could have stole the North American before WWE ever thought about it. But, John, let's start with you and talk about, I know you're going to say this, so I'm going to steal your thunder right now. Man, this match was great working on one body. Go ahead.
The Andersons did what they do. They took some bumps early on and then found that opening and worked on an arm. I believe it was Wahoo's arm they mostly worked on. One quick point, the U.S. tag titles, I looked it up because I was pretty sure they didn't have the U.S. tag titles at that time. These were out of Florida. These were Florida's version of the United States Tag Team Championship.
Oh.
If there weren't enough belts, Crockett then introduced his version of the United States Tag Team Championship sometime later. As we'll see later on, a year or so down the road, they do unify some of these belts. Nikita with the U.S. and the National, and they unify the tag team belts as well. This match, very, very good tag team match. Everything you'd expect from a great tag team match. Good action. The faces were using a lot of power moves because they were the bigger guys. It's a lot of heavy strikes. The Andersons worked on Wahoo's arm. And in the end, the Andersons win. Not really cheating, but a bit of a questionable call. Very good match. The Andersons, as much as I am not an Ole Anderson fan.
Who is?
Very good.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
Chad, go ahead. Spill on Ole. Here we go.
This match was well put together. It played to the strengths of the teams, for sure. They picked the right guy to work on. I don't think Billy Jack could have sold as well, or it would have looked as real if they were trying to rip his arm off as it did Wahoo. That was an experience thing, and the fact that Billy Jack was unbelievably huge at this time. This is right out of Oregon, when he came out of Oregon in Rip Oliver's federation. But just a well put together match. The Andersons, they did their thing. As far as Ole, I just laugh at him because he's just a grumpy old bastard. He's always been a grumpy old bastard. But sometimes some of his stuff is funny. But yeah, this was typical Anderson match. They gave the rub a little bit to McDaniel and Billy Jack, but not enough that they had to really blatantly, shot to the throat with the ring bell type winning the match. Just a little bit of cheating to beat them.
Yeah, I don't have any much more to say to that, so let's move along to probably one of my most historic matches in NWA, possibly wrestling history. It is the Steel Cage I Quit match between Magnum TA and Tully Blanchard for the U.S. title. And I know we're all going to have a lot to say, so we'll go right back to Chad first.
I love this match. From beginning to end, you want to talk about storytelling and two guys who genuinely could work together and just make everything look so real in the build-up to the match. I was always a Magnum TA fan, and this, to me, was the match that really brought him out to the fans and showed what he could do. Tully Blanchard, always the ultimate prick and rule breaker and everything. You know, they had the thing of Baby Doll on the outside cheering him on. Just a very well put together match. It seemed like it was really personal. If you didn't know it and watched it, be like, holy shit, these guys really hate each other. Loved the ending. It gave Tully the out because he never said the words, and that would play years later into a couple of different scenarios.
It's still playing out.
And it's still playing out. So it's just all around great way to win it. I love the match.
John?
Oh my God, yeah, to your point, Chad, a few years later when Magnum is doing color commentary because of his career-ending injuries, and Tully Blanchard is one of the guys coming out for an interview, you still feel that tension between them. So, yeah, great point.
Yeah, that was a Dusty Rhodes bad incident there.
Yep, absolutely, yep. I really enjoyed this match a lot, start to finish. I like that it started out with wrestling because it goes to the interview after the match where Magnum TA says, I didn't want this. This isn't wrestling. This belt deserves to be defended in a wrestling match. So they kind of started that way. You know, let's make this a wrestling match. We had some double leg takedowns. We had some good mat wrestling. It didn't take long, though, for this to just turn into a brutal bloodbath. I mean, you know, Tully, like you say, he's the little prick. He's the little shit. He can get it done in the ring, right? But there were also moments where his frustration was just at a boiling point. And he's just beating on this guy. He's just hammer fisting this guy. And Magnum just won't quit. Incredible match. So damn brutal. There was bleeding from different parts of the body, not just the head that we always see, but like the back, the bicep. I think Tully cut his bicep somewhere, whether that was by design or not, I don't know.
I was on the chair.
It really gave the... Yeah, I think you're right, yeah. It gave the impression of a real fight. And you know what? Not to be lost in all this, Baby Doll, that was great work on the outside. You were into this whole thing, and we're not much wrestling on TV right now. I've been watching a lot of stuff. Woman, Sensational Sherry, they borrowed heavily from the Perfect 10. She was great out there. She was great. She was with Tully move for move. Really enjoyed what she did.
I was going to reference that as we got to speak to, again, go back and listen to our Baby Doll interview. She touches on this match. She touches a lot of all of her work with Tully and Dusty and everything. Pioneer. Can we use that word for her as what she did for women in wrestling? Even, you know, let's throw sexes out the window. Manager. She excelled a lot of managers into. This might have been one of the matches that did it. It really was. At some of my points that I said, she wasn't involved in the match, but she was part of the match the whole time. So it was. Do you guys both agree that probably one of the most historical matches in wrestling history is this match?
No doubt.
Okay. Quick and easy. All right. Moving along.
Yeah, absolutely.
Moving along. One of the non-historical matches in wrestling history. You have Jimmy Valiant and Miss Atlanta Lively, Ronnie Garvin. What? Against the Midnight Express in an Atlanta street fight match. And I took this match for what it was. And that is it. John, go ahead.
I had no idea that was Ronnie Garvin. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I didn't know that was him. I watched that match and tried to get a close look. Never figured it out. I wasn't really watching.
Later, a month later, they show that it's actually him. He rips his, or was it a month, or maybe a week or whatever.
Well, I mean, that's a month later. We didn't know who that was.
Oh, all right. We spilled everything else from years later, but we can't say that this is Ronnie Garvin. So shit on me all of a sudden because I make one point.
No, that's all right. I just didn't know. Thank you for letting me know, because I was going to ask, so thanks for letting me know. Again, I really wasn't watching Crockett Promotions all that closely, so I had no idea that was Ronnie Garvin. Midnight Express, this version is not my favorite version. Nevertheless, I love any version of the Midnight Express. They're better than this. They made the most of this. They bumped around. Poor Bobby Eaton. He didn't deserve this. I don't know what the hell was going on. They're wearing suits. He's bleeding everywhere again. That's the other thing is I don't know if these managers, if what the suits they were wearing were costumes or what they wore home or their own personal suits. But they all went balls to the wall. They got their suits bloody, sweaty. Kudos to the managers tonight. That's all I can say. This match was just, in your words, Mark, it was what it was. Take it for what it is. I did not care for it.
The Tuxes, and listening to Jim Cornette talk about these matches, the Tuxes were actually rented, and Crockett had to pay for them afterwards, which didn't make any sense. Why the hell would you have them in this type of match? And you know they're going to get bloody. You know they're going to get ripped to hell. And they did. The best thing that come out of this match, and Miss Atlanta Lively, was a story that come out of the dressing room, that the Barbarian goes into the dressing room and he sees Miss Atlanta Lively there. And he's not up to what's going on with this.
Yeah, because he didn't know everybody's storyline back in the day.
you didn't know this stuff. And old Barbarian said, "Hey, who's a nice chick? She's got a nice rack."
Huh.
And then Ronnie Garvin turns around and he realizes who it is, and he picks up his stuff and leaves the dressing room because he was so embarrassed. And this is the Barbarian. He went and dressed in a janitor's closet.
Nice. I agree with John. I have to feel for poor, beautiful Bobby. Half the match, he had a freaking tire wrapped around him that made him look like the missing link, or I don't know, maybe Eugene
Tiger King.
Something. Yeah, Tiger King. Bring it back to the 2020s. I don't know what the hell is going on, but it was a fun match. It was the introduction to Extreme for all of us, I guess.
It was fun. It was silly.
All right, next match, in a cage. It's the Koloffs defending their World Tag Team Championships against the Rock and Roll Express. And I'm going to jump on this first because I'm going to stir the pot and piss Chad off because your boy Jim Cornette always talks about how he hates blind tags. Well, the Rock and Roll Express won this with a blind tag. He hates tags on the back. Did you see how the Rock and Roll Express won this?
Yep.
Ricky gets Robert tagged under. By the way, that finishing maneuver with the flip over top and Ricky rolling him up, if that wasn't done correctly, 3 people could have major neck injuries today. So kudos,
victory roll.
Yeah, kudos to all of them. But Jim Cornette, for you bitching about blind tags, this championship match, which led to you now fighting the Rock and Roll Express 4 years, even today if they could, was won by a blind tag.
Yeah, I totally agree. And Cornette has, said about that. People have brought that up to him. And he was like, not, and this might be him trying to cover his ass. Not that it was done as much back then as it ridiculously is now. Tagging feet, tagging their ass, tagging their back, tagging their head. It's like 80% of the tags are everything but the hands.
Great match shows. I stir the pot. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I thought it was a very good match. This is where I started to feel like, do we really need another cage match? Does this need to be in a cage? The Rock and Roll Express are so good that they didn't need to tell the bloodbath story. They told a tag team match story that happened to take place within a cage because they're that damn good. However, had there been no cage here, the match would have been just as good, really. The Russians are good. The Rock and Roll Express are good. The match grew on me. I was a little bummed that here we are in another cage match that I thought was just going to be another bloodbath. Turned out to be a really good tag team match. I love good tag team wrestling. Different than what we saw with Billy Jack Haynes and Wahoo against the Andersons. Very good match. And the Rock and Roll, I think this is number 3 that they win here, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, this match... Two, I think. Chad says 2. This match was the main event of, I think, Greensboro. Because they were... I think what they were doing was bouncing back and forth, and maybe or whatever, because clearly they weren't going to take the... I think they just put it in a cage, because right after your Magnum Tully match, you sure as shit aren't going to rip down a cage in the matter of the Jimmy Valiant Midnight Express match on the other card, because you see that sometimes it takes hours to put cages up, and they weigh 6 tons anymore. Back then they were only 4 tons, so a couple guys could move them, but now... So I just think they're like, oh shit, we have this maybe slotted at the wrong time. Yeah, put it in the cage. Put it in the cage. Just because, yeah, it was the end-all match between these guys. Ended the feud. See you later. But I would agree. It doesn't need to be in a cage.
Yeah, it could have been without the cage, been just as good of a match. They got around it a little bit by saying that it was in a cage to keep outside interference, from Crusher Khrushchev, even though
he was there.
He was there.
And Cornudo was there.
That still a great match. Not, totally expected from these two teams. This is when Nikita was kind of breaking out, and then he'd start his feud with Magnum.
Right.
The next, not within 2
or
3 months.
Yeah.
Of the thing before Magnum's accident the next year. I just thought it was a good match. Again, Rock and Roll Express, they could wrestle a pair of brooms and have a good match out of it.
Nikita, you could hear him during the course of the match, and you never heard his real voice, which really is a testament to how committed this guy was to the character. You talk about things, or maybe they don't talk about it. Maybe they're that good at it that they don't discuss what's coming up next. But you could hear Nikita during the match, but when you heard him, you heard Nikita's voice. You didn't hear, whatever his name, his real name is, his voice. You hear like, or whatever. He's making me believe that they're Russian and they're speaking to each other, and so that the Rock and Roll don't pick up on their game plan. It's the little details. Nikita doesn't get enough love.
He does. I agree with that.
And that was a big thing. You hear Arn Anderson talked about it at WrestleCade, and that Nikita lived this character. He was doing it 24/7. I mean, even around the guys in the dressing rooms, on the planes and everything, and he lived the gimmick, and it was so believable. And then what does he do years later? He changes his name legally from Scott Simpson to Nikita Koloff.
Scott Simpson, thank you. That's it.
Yeah. Homer's brother.
Right.
And now we have the main event of Starrcade 85, The Gathering, a classic, as we all will say, I'm sure. It is the Nature Boy Ric Flair defending his championship against the son of a plumber, the common man, Dusty Rhodes. And let's start with John.
Man, on a card that was absolutely stacked with great matches, how do you follow all that? Well, you follow it by putting Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair on last. The crowd was so into this. Dusty struts and they lose their shit. great match. Just a great match. Ups and downs, highs and lows. Loved it. In the end, Dusty fends off the Andersons who tried to interfere. Then Ole gets him with the knee in the back. Flair goes for a body slam, gets inside cradled for the 3. There was a change of referees as Tommy Young went down. Shout out to CJ Sensation, to the current day Tommy Young. The overselling by Tommy Young is just unbelievable. Unreal. Great stuff, man. What can you say? Flair, I think, went over the top rope during the course of the match, or Flair did, or Dusty did, but the ref never saw it. But he did see it, but he got knocked out. This is going to be explained on a later episode of NWA television. Rhodes doesn't actually lead. He leads with the belt. He doesn't win the championship. It's returned to Ric Flair by the next TV taping.
Yeah. Chad?
Another great match. Nothing that you shouldn't expect from these two. As I get older and I look at these matches and these guys, I don't have a problem with saying, if there's ever two people that could work a crowd whichever way they wanted to, have the crowd on the edge of their seats for every move, Dusty and Flair, top 10 of all time.
Oh yeah,
for working a crowd. And then when they're working with each other, I mean, they just gelled so well.
This was around the time. This was the time that the Andersons beat up Dusty, and he was wearing that special boot, so that kind of came into play a little bit. Is he's got the all-white protective boot on compared to his cowboy boot. The immense storylines just in this match that extended for years. It could be going on right now. It's amazing. So John's starting to get his workout in. So let's wrap this up and let's give this our rating on a six-pack as we do. I have to imagine where we're all going. Let's start with Chad. Out of beers, six-pack of beer, what do you give this?
I'd give it a 5.5. The only little bit of knock against it was the silliness with the Midnight Express match, and the placement of some of the matches. That was my only real knock against it. Obviously, John did say about the commentary in that. I think those three things, it knocks it down to only a half. So that should tell you a lot about the card overall.
English professor?
Total agreement. 5.5 for all the same reasons.
Well, then we are all on the same boat of 5.5. Stellar card in 1985. Guys, I loved talking this old school stuff. It brought us back to we were possibly not even in double digits yet. Some of us might have been a teenager by now. But this was our heyday. This is when we were grasping on to wrestling and saying, this shit is going to be in our life, the rest of our life. So how about...
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. I was just going to say, I mentioned it about half a dozen times already, but it was going to be a few months before we started to get Jim Crockett Promotions on a UHF channel in my house. We didn't have cable. So my only introduction to this sort of thing was in magazines, some highlights here and there, but that was about it. It was great to actually go back and see this card start to finish.
My biggest thing that I want to, or two things real quick about it, was they could learn, again, the way they shot it, the focus on the ring and the talent. They could learn a lot from that today. And it was compared to today, a low budget production. You don't have the
pop and
gypped up announcers booths with the $5,000 monitors for every announcer and stuff like that. I would just like to go more back to basics. And this show was a perfect example of what could be pulled off.
I agree. All right, we are going to let you go head to the downstairs gym at your house because I want you to stay well, wash your hands, stay quarantined. And I know you guys, I'll give you your moment. I know you guys in Allegheny County are being hit hard right now. So you need to, we talked about it at the beginning of the show, John, send out your love for everybody dealing with the coronavirus.
Guys, stay home as much as you can. Seriously, this has been, I understand there are terrible things going on, and I'm not trying to make light of it, but I do try to see the positive. I know people are without work. My wife and I are both home, but we're in fine situations right now. Watch wrestling, guys. It's so much fun. Wake up, have nothing to do, put some old school wrestling on. The pictures you guys see on the Facebook page, that's spoiler alert. That's me. I'm playing with my toys. 43 years old. We'll be 44 here pretty soon. Play with your toys, guys. Enjoy each other. Enjoy each other in the comfort of your own home. Chad, Mark, stay safe, guys.
Yes, sir. This is B. Brian Blair asking you to turn into the Can Crushers podcast, or you're going to get stung.
All right, Chad, that was a great conversation about Starrcade 85. We need to set more of those up. Maybe one of us will pick another one up because this is fun. Even with when wrestling gets back to going, I think minimally we need to do one of those a month, huh?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun looking back to the time periods that we will. Obviously, I don't think we're really going to be into reviewing newer stuff.
No, I would. The English professor probably will want to do something stupid.
Yeah, I mean, he might do something like that, but we can edit him out and do our own. But
okay.
Going back to the 80s and stuff like that, the beginnings of pay-per-view, widespread pay-per-view, the cards and everything like that. It was the height of actual wrestling, not the circus stuff that we have in a lot of places today.
Yeah. All right, let's transition. And this is funny, we're this far along into the show, and we're going to actually bring up WrestleMania. This is WrestleMania week. This is, right now, everything's spoiled. Nothing is going to happen. I am actually bummed that we're not going to get the Hall of Fame, because I actually like those. I love those speeches. We're not getting TakeOver correctly. For the people that were going to go, I'm sorry, you're not going to get to go to Access. WrestleMania is going to be on Saturday, so that's why we're going to talk about it tonight and maybe a little bit next week as well. But we'll only be able to talk about half of it because we come out on Sundays. So much can change yet. Supposedly a lot of it's going to be pre-recorded and some of it's already been recorded. But I want to start right off the bat. Big breaking news this week as Roman Reigns not going to WrestleMania.
This was it was not a shock to me. I can't say that I wasn't thinking of the way that it went with his immune system being compromised from the leukemia and everything. This is a good move, the best move there is, and I'm glad that he did it.
Minutes before recording, literally minutes before recording, Uncle Dave Meltzer says, hey, there's doctors saying that Roman Reigns should not be around for a long time until actually a vaccine is out for this. We talked, all three of us, spoiler alert, talked off air. We agree.
Yeah.
I not as a storyline, I'm not a Roman Reigns fan. But as a human being, Joe does not need to go through this.
No. This is just, it's putting them too much in danger. This goes beyond somebody having the sniffles and still wrestling or something like that. This could kill him.
Yeah.
And he's not in the target, age group or anything like that. This could literally kill him. And I'm glad that he pulled out.
Others that have pulled out.
Rey Mysterio Sasha Banks, I seem to be remembering a day or two ago.
I didn't see that one, but
there's like 4 or 6 people. Daniel Bryan.
Asuka and Cesaro, they now have released that their stuff was taped prior to whatever. So they may be on the card. The thing is, what we're trying to say is, what they're leaking to us as matches, you might not see that. Pre-recorded or not, you just don't know what you're going to get at WrestleMania. Braun Strowman's supposed to be filling in against Goldberg. Last we heard.
Yeah.
Last we heard as well, Goldberg was to lose the title. Right? He's not going to be lingering around.
This is what I don't.
We don't bring up spoilers a lot, but this is just way too big.
It's not concerning to me, but damn it, Vince, just
cancel the damn thing.
Cancel it. Reschedule it. Make some big freaking house show
in Madison Square Garden in June,
somewhere, wherever you're going. But that part of it aside,
let me jump in real quick.
Nobody wants. Sorry, I had other part of my thought came to me. Who does Drew McIntyre deserve to get the title in? If that's where the plan is, I mean, Vince could change that.
Right.
3 seconds before the referee counts, he could change it. The wrestlers deserve more.
Their moment.
They deserve their moment. And I hate this crap without fans. It kills the vibe. It kills everything about the presentation.
Yeah.
I just think that the wrestlers deserve better. They deserve a bigger moment. They've gone through enough crap. Just postpone it.
I would be for it because of that. I know we're pulling for it, and we could get some feel-good stories out of it. And it's, as much as we do bash on the WWE week in, week out, it's about the stories. It's not about the performances, the talent, or anything. Because, Chad, let's say this right now. They're great workers because they can carry a storyline with nobody in the crowd supporting them, and that's half of where they get their juice, their energy, their flow from. They are the best of the best. Let's give them that. It's the stories that we hate. We want them in different stories, right?
Yeah, things that make more sense. Not something that's thrown together. A month or so. We've been over this, cut down pay-per-views, blah blah blah. I just, a lot of them, they get their vibes. Like you said, they get their energy from the crowd, and it's just not the same. And anybody who thinks that it's even close to being the same, all you got to do is read online that, during commercials, during breaks, stuff like that, they stop wrestling. And then they start back up. It's like, and
I don't hate them for that. And I don't hate them for that.
It just kills the momentum. It kills everything for them.
Yeah.
I don't see it, but knowing that it happens, it's like, oh, what were they doing? Getting a drink,
touching
up on the makeup,
Whatever. Guys, I'm going to say support it. I'm really going to say support WrestleMania this coming Saturday, and we'll talk about half of WrestleMania next week. But let's go through and just go through our shtick. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all of it's at CanCrusher69. We are getting some emails in about Ask Can Crushers, and you can email us at cancrusher69@gmail.com. So I would say probably in a month we're gonna roll with that Ask Can Crushers thing. Head over to our website; it's posted everywhere. We haven't said this in a long time because I've just been dropping the ball. We're out there everywhere. Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, Buzzsprout, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, blah, 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 blah. Anywhere podcasts are, we're pretty much on it. Give us a listen, whatever your easiest streaming device is. You can find us. You can listen to it on Facebook as well. And we're putting older stuff up on YouTube with some not video clips, just pictures and everything as we're working out some of our, not issues, we're just playing around with YouTube right now because you never know when you're going to see the inside of the studio as we go live. It's going to happen.
At some point, yeah.
Yeah. And another cool app, it's called the WrestlePost app. Guys, we talk about this. When wrestling is back up, this guy, he works on it on his own. He really does. Has a ton of federations on there. If you're in Montana and you want to go to wrestling, boom, pull it up, boom. There's a wrestling show 5 miles down the road. There's wrestlers on there that you can get linked to if you don't want to do the work on Twitter and everything. There's other podcasts. It's a great app that's accessible for everything.
If you're a wrestling fan and you do any multimedia, you need to be on this.
Yeah, it's a great app. We didn't talk about Dark Side of the Ring. Let's
talk about it.
No, we're over an hour and a half already again. Well, because what are we going to talk about next week? This week we can talk about the Benoit thing next week and New Jack thing next week. We'll be a little bit behind, but maybe the English professor can catch up.
Just remember the Benoit thing. Sorry.
Emotional.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. The New Jack one,
I'm completely emotional the other way.
I'm looking forward to because
rage.
Dude is as calm as can be till you get his ass wound up, and then he's a psycho.
Yeah, so definitely next week we'll talk about Dark Side of the Ring. Maybe more Tiger King, just because Chad will finally watch the damn thing. But go to ratethispodcast.com/CanCrushers and give us some feedback. We love that. Otherwise, it's a sad WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah.
Week, more or less.
It's a good time to be a wrestling fan. There's never a bad time. This is just when your options are limited. Live stuff isn't really going on. It's filler stuff. It will be back. I think this is going to turn into a big wake-up call for a lot of places in the quality and stuff like that they put on.
Continue to vote on Facebook on the coolest wrestling gimmick, by the way. We've had a lot of matches that just bared people. I'm shocked.
There is one match at WrestleMania that's coming up that this is a must-see match.
If you say it, I'm stopping.
Get away from it. Dolph Ziggler and Otis with Mandy Rose at ringside.
Not a surprise, though.
Mandy Rose at ringside with Ziggler. I'm calling it right now. Otis rescues her, or she turns on Ziggler, and Otis and Mandy get married, or they're a big couple. This is finally the payoff to one of the most
stupid,
entertaining, realistic storylines WWE's had in years.
If this does anything, I hope it separates Mandy and Sonya lays waste to all of them. I'll leave it at that. Guys, it's WrestleMania weekend. It's rough to watch wrestling. There's a ton of different apps. Find them. YouTube's got a shitload of stuff. Just
Smoky Mountain. Look up the Smoky Mountain pay-per-views. All of them are on YouTube. Quality isn't on some of it, but it's not horrible that you can't watch. Great freaking wrestling. Oh my God, great wrestling.
And one last time, stay home, wash your hands, enjoy your family. Do not spread this virus.